everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Highly Disputed. I am your host, Mutant Encounter, and I'm here with our panelists. Today we have Kinderspiel, JefftheMagicGoat, and a new panelist, FB Jayke. So our first topic is, of course, Kisses for Cats' meteoric ascent to apparently total dominance in last week in their game against NG Blossom, their defeat of the previously undefeated team, in really stunning fashion. So my first question for everyone is, what do you think about that? And do you think that this is a permanent, sustainable change or a flash in the pan? Keeping in mind that Ham, the new jungler for Kisses for Cats, made the statement that, and this is a quote, "There is a great level of talent in this league, and I, Ham, have immense respect for everyone in this league. But regardless, we will never lose a game again." Who wants to take that one?
Has anyone got one first crack at this?
I'll take first crack at this.
Okay, Jake, let's see it.
So, I definitely think this is a sustainable look for NG Blossom. And what's most impressive about their win, aside from just smashing, is that they did it first. It was the first game we saw NG Blossom lose, and not the second. And while the second was also impressive, there, you can say there's tilt that plays in a little bit there. But just coming out and beating the best team like they did, as hard as they did, with some, newer picks, and then, making a statement like this, I can definitely get behind it. I think Iron Dragons will not like the statement, and we're going to see that tough matchup. No, wait, we don't get to see that matchup. They've already played. Sorry. But maybe we will get to see that matchup maybe in the playoffs, hopefully. But it is going to be very interesting to kind of see if they're able to hold it. I definitely don't see them dropping a game going into playoffs, and honestly, they're my favorite to win the whole thing. So I definitely can get behind it.
I mean, it's definitely a very confident statement. But in regards back to what we were talking about with them picking up the first victory against NG Blossom, coming out to that game, I had my eyes on it thinking that Kisses for Cats could give them their first loss. I mean, Kisses for Cats has been so hot recently. They've won so many games in a row, especially with their slow start to the season. But definitely was not expecting the complete stomp that we saw. Again, they're up by like 21,000 gold at the end of the game. So really, again, Kisses for Cats has been so astronomically has improved so much over the past second half of the split, and a lot of that comes back to, again, they picked up Ham. They didn't have Ham when the season started, and he's just been such a force in the jungle for them that you can't really knock his confident words that he's put out here. So it's really going to be interesting to see. If I had to, I don't necessarily say they're my absolute favorite to win the split at this point, but they definitely have a very good chance of doing so.
So let me ask y'all a question and see if y'all know off the top of your heads. When was the last time Kisses for Cats lost a game?
Before the mid-split break, for sure.
Yeah, aren't they 9-1?
Their
last 10.
The last time they lost a game, it was week 5 against Huge Minion Difference, and before that, it was week 3. So to say it's been a meteoric rise is kind of just ignoring their consistently strong play for the past split. Really, the bulk of the split, they've been sitting around third place. They've watched Iron Dragon and NG Blossom always be at the top, but they've always been right below that. They lost their games early, and right now NG Blossom is losing their games late.
Yeah, but if you haven't been paying attention, like you're saying, it has been a pretty quiet come up for them. And if you haven't been paying close attention, but again, all that has been thrown completely out the window with their stomp on NG Blossom last week.
I mean, it was dramatic. It was so dramatic. They went about it in a flashy way where they throw Karthus bottom, and they are just dominating NG Blossom with hard aggression. Ham's calling it bullying, and really that's what it is. They hit them hard. They hit them in a really embarrassing way where they just outplayed them on a macro level and on a micro level every step of the way.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm gonna make a pretty drastic comparison, but I really feel like anybody that likes boxing, it's almost like Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson, where honestly it felt like NG Blossom came into the game, just feeling super on top of the world, and Kisses for Cats just came out with this huge aggression and they were not ready.
Yeah, I'd say, again, I like how you described that as they were kind of not really prepared for it. Again, it was coming right off of the All-Star event. And again, all 5 members from NG Blossom were on the All-Star teams. So they're probably just, again, being undefeated up to that point, also is feeling probably really good about the situation, feeling really confident, and we're probably just not ready for that game, like you're saying. So Jake has them as the favorites. I have them as pretty solid chance of winning. Jeff, do you have a more definitive placement for him?
I think I really like what Kisses for Cats does. I really like where Iron Dragon has been for the past couple of weeks too. Like, we can't just throw out Iron Dragons, returning champions. They lost some games throughout the split. Yes, they haven't been perfect, but the past few weeks they've been much better. They've been coming at their games with an early game plan rather than let's lose early game and win late. They've dropped that Team Liquid strategy, and they're going back to what made them good.
All right, so that's a good opportunity to transition from talking about Kisses for Cats to talking about the playoff race as a whole. Now, looking forward to the 6 teams that are going to make the playoffs. Probably any debate over which 6 teams that's going to be has been settled because, unfortunately, Julia Duck has withdrawn from the remainder of the season. They're going to FF the rest of their games, and they will not be participating in the ALS anymore. So
Trigger Happy will be happy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Trigger Happy will be thrilled.
I mean, Trigger Happy is probably are going to make the playoffs. So I'm not. Again, they're pretty much sealed for the 5th or 4th seed anyway. So I'm not sure it really affects them too much.
It's a win.
HMD, yeah, it is another win, but HMD is definitely the huge winners here. There's much less pressure on the remaining game versus Kisses for Cats, which obviously will. Oh, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong day on the schedule against Smug Club, which again they probably could pick that game up, but they don't have to even worry about it all at this point.
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
That kind of just eliminates that. Sure, it's still it means the only races that really exist anymore is that like who can be in 1st and 2nd seed. And right now for Iron Dragon, they're kind of in their own hands. They're the only team that have playoff chances left that have a bye, so they only have 1 game left. It's against NG Blossom. If they win it, they secure their berth in playoffs. I'm almost positive. If they lose it,
2nd seed.
Yeah, they have their bye in playoff.
Yeah.
If they lose it, then that might open it up for Kisses for Cats. I haven't done the math yet, but Kisses for Cats still has 2 games to rack up some wins, and realistically, 12 points. It comes down to tiebreaker math for them there.
Yeah, if Iron Dragon loses their game versus NG, Kisses for Cats can in fact go 2-0 and would they would pretty much definitely have the goal difference tiebreaker. So if Iron Dragon loses this game, Kisses for Cats has full control over their fate of getting that 2nd seed and getting the bye. So definitely a lot on the line for Iron Dragon in their last game because, again, they end up going against huge main difference probably in the 1st round, whoever gets the 3rd seed. And probably both of those teams would have no problem taking it down in a 5-game series, but things can happen. We've seen HMD pop off in a couple games and split and pull up these upsets, so that is one dark horse team that you don't want to sleep on for sure.
And I think a very underrated thing too. It is the 2 seed plays the 3 or the 6, right? In playoffs is how we have it hashed out.
Correct, the 3 seed plays the 6 seed, right?
Well, no, I mean for second round, right? So if you're the 2nd seed, you're gonna have to play, one of these top 2 or 3 teams, and that's not exactly the most thrilling prospect for them. But at the same time, I definitely think like with the way we've seen Trigger Happy playing recently, that's not a team you're gonna want to face in the playoffs.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned much about Trigger Happy yet because their seeding's pretty much locked, but they pulled off an amazing week last week, 2-0, picking up the other victory against NG Blossom. So really again, beating NG Blossom is not an easy feat to do. They were 12-0 in the split, so the fact that Trigger Happy was able to pull that off really shows to the strength of their roster changes. And honestly, they're a title contender too, I'd say.
Yeah, but there's actually so it's very unlikely, but Kisses for Cats could very unlikely go 0-2, and Trigger Happy, because they get the FF against Julia Duck, they could actually end up 10-6. So there is a world where they might get a 3 seed. However unlikely it is, you could see them up there.
That would be incredible.
I mean, I'm fully expecting Trigger Happy to have another 2-0 week this week, so that's definitely within realm of possibility. I think you also still have Glacial Rising Phoenix, who also have that possibility very much locked and loaded.
It's possible Glacial Rising obviously going up against NG Blossom, a little bit of a tougher challenge, but NG has been vulnerable. But the one other thing I really want to focus on is the fact that Iron Dragon could still get the number 1 seed, and obviously that would require NG to lose both their games. One obviously to Iron Dragon, but the other one to Glacial Rising Phoenix, which I've sensed a lot of feeling in the community that Glacial Rising doesn't have much of a chance against this game, but I feel like they definitely do. Glacial Rising, especially in the vulnerable state NG's been looking the past couple of weeks, I feel like that's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't bet money that that's what's going to happen, but I definitely think it's a possibility that NG could go 0-2 again this week. And if that happens, Iron Dragon's going to sit in that number 1 seed.
I mean, we've already heard that it sounds like they're not going to be playing with Exasperated this week, so that's a huge hit. Glacial Rising Phoenix, I called it last week. I said last week, I see Glacial Rising Phoenix being able to pull down NG Blossom. Now, it happened earlier than I expected. I didn't expect that, collapse of last week. But Glacial Rising Phoenix is a real team. They can play quite well. NG Blossom is going to be hopefully recovered somewhat, but still minus one of their strongest players. Now, granted, everyone on that team is a strong player. Let's not pretend like there's a weak link on NG Blossom, but Exasperated has been a huge playmaker for them over this entire split consistently. It's been him and Black Oreo Cookies being the playmakers driving the games. So losing him is going to be a hurt.
Yeah, so you talk about, you think there's no real weak link, and I agree to an extent, and however, I think their bot lane is certainly the weakest link on that team, and going against Iron Dragon's bot lane in the first match where you don't really have your mid-jungle synergy anymore because you're going to have a new jungler probably, I think it's definitely scary, and if they pick up a loss there, and they look at this, 0-4 week down the barrel going into playoffs, that's a huge momentum killer, right? If they go 0-4 in the last 2 weeks, they're not even top 2 anymore. Say they drop to the 3rd seed, and now all of a sudden they have to play, against the 6th seed, who maybe, originally you wouldn't give them much of a chance, and then you go into this game where, all of the pressures on NG to actually make it back to where they were supposed to be, and you're looking at a real chance they drop out early.
Yeah, and definitely, I don't know what your guys' predictions would be, but I definitely have Iron Dragon taking down the game tomorrow.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Iron Dragon has been on point recently. Iron Dragon has been playing the way we expect, and again, without Exasperated, playing with a sub, playing with a handicap, that's bad news for NG Blossom. It just truly is. I need to see the draft still. I 100% need to see the draft to see if they're playing one of their, better comps, or if they're going to try and pull something trying to copy the Karthus bottom, or playing champions that they're not really used to and don't really fit their styles. Because these are things that NG Blossom messed up last week.
And also, we will just have to see who they do have subbing in the jungle, so...
Yeah, definitely.
Some factors to keep into consideration, but Iron Dragon just looks so clean past several weeks, and NG is definitely, as it did go 0-2 last week, not been quite their confident self, especially in that second game.
Yeah, that second game last week, that was
Trigger Happy played really good in that game too. You gotta give him some credit. Ishan was huge on Galio. made so many clutch plays, always in the right place at the right time. So many great Galio ultimates, great Galio taunts.
Yeah.
It was a great game by them.
And that guy physically had the biggest shoulders that we've seen in some time.
Yeah, but I think a scary thing about that game though is like the first loss they had. You know, they just got smashed early game, right? They just got completely smashed. But
There
that
was no
second
late
game, we finally saw them lose kind of at their own game because we've seen them consistently win with map movements and macro plays, and they kind of threw the whole game away with some macro blunders there with, you know, bad Baron calls that they all die at and some poor rotations of getting caught out in the mid game.
Absolutely, and that's a great opportunity to transition to, and it's really a shame that Monochrome isn't here this week, because we had a support win Player of the Week. Troll Danube was Player of the Week. So
Well earned.
Well earned.
Very much so.
That Bard play was incredible.
Yeah, his Bard play was really incredible in the NG Blossom game, but I mean, we can't even overlook his Thresh play, you know, in the game that he had prior to that where they were up against Glacier Rising Phoenix.
No, that was also definitely a fantastic play. It's just that Bard really stood out to me as like Bard is definitely on the rise as a competitive support again. I mean, he has been before. Sometimes Bard falls out. Right now in competitive team games where you have strong communication, incredible.
I also want to give a shout out to Ishan though, as I was saying just a minute ago, the huge Galio plays. He also had a huge game on Malphite in their game against Glacier Rising Phoenix in day one of last week. So Ishan had a huge week for Trigger Happy as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, only one person can get Player of the Week. As Troll the Noob did get it, and he played amazing as well. But I just want to give a huge shout out to Ishan as well. I think he played an absolutely amazing week, which is a huge part of their 2-0.
Yeah, we saw, you know, Ishan on his big AoE team fight. It was really interesting because, you know, they had engage tools on their mid laner, and they had a roaming support, and they just really took over the map with that kind of play style.
Yeah, that global presence is part of what really pushed them ahead in that game. I think we also need to give a massive shout out to Monochrome for being absolutely wrong that a support could never get Player of the Week.
Absolutely, we're definitely going to have to bring that up with him next week when he returns to the show. So that's about all we have for this episode 6 of Highly Disputed. I have been your host, Mutant Encounter. Panelists have been Kinderspiel, FB Jayke, and JefftheMagicGoat. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the Rift tomorrow for week 9, and then next week in Highly Disputed.
See you guys
later.
Ciao.